Okay, so this is everything you need to know about the TQQQ ETF in 60 seconds. Let's go. TQQQ is an ETF that seeks to provide 3 times the return of the Nasdaq-100 Index. It does this by going long on the stocks within the Nasdaq-100 Index, and it does not use any derivatives in doing so. The fund was created in 2010 and is currently holding 88 stocks with a total net asset value of $94 million. The top 10 holdings are mostly tech companies, and the largest position is currently Apple, which takes up 11% of the total portfolio. The expense ratio for this fund is 0.63%, which is pretty standard for an ETF. So how has the fund performed? Well, since its creation in 2010, TQQQ has returned an average of 17.5% per year. Keep in mind, though, that it has also experienced some pretty wild drawdowns, including a 40% drop during the dot-com crash of 2008 and a 30% drop during the crash of 2020. So the fund can experience some pretty large drawdowns during major market crashes, but it has recovered nicely in the long run. In terms of volatility, TQQQ is actually less volatile than the S&P 500. You can see that both indices experience similar drawdowns during the dot-com bubble and the COVID crash. But when we look at the standard deviation, which measures the amount of volatility an asset has over time, we can see that the standard deviation of TQQQ is actually lower than that of the S&P 500. Even though TQQQ is less volatile than the S&P 500, I would consider it to be a high-risk investment because of 2 reasons. First is that it is a highly concentrated portfolio. As you can see, almost half of the fund is made up of just 5 stocks. And second is that the fund has experienced multiple large drawdowns in its history. So even though it might not be as volatile as the S&P 500, I would still consider it to be a high-risk investment. The main advantage of TQQQ is that it provides a simple way to gain exposure to the Nasdaq-100 Index. If you want to buy individual stocks within the Nasdaq-100, you'll have to come up with at least $100,000. That's because each stock is worth several $100s at a minimum. So for most people, TQQQ is the best way to gain exposure to the Nasdaq-100 without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you enjoyed this video, you should watch my video on QQQ next, because it explains the differences between QQQ and TQQQ in detail. I'll link to the video here and in the description. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe and check out my other videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.